Which means what? I am a walking and talking Quran. Which means what? Anything I do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with me. Raise your hand if you can say you are this person. Everyone's hand is down. I can't raise my hand because it's the truth. Tathir al-nafs is the journey towards perfection. What is perfection? Is perfection earning 6-7 figures at work? I have a job and my income is 6-7 figures. Is this perfection? Well, I can tell you now, you can be earning 8 figures and be depressed. Is perfection me having, in my understanding, the perfect spouse? This can lead to depression. It's not the best car. It's not the best house. It's not the clothes that I have on my body. It's not the university I study at. Wallah, it's not the course I study. It's not how high my ATAR is. It's not the way the people at school or my university friends or way the people look at me and what they think of me as a person. There is going to come a day where all of this, you're going to look back and say, what was I doing? All of it was worthless. Because now, I've got no one next to me. I can't go back. Ya Allah, please, just 5 minutes, take me back to the dunya. Your time is up. And you look back and you say, how did I live my life? Was I working towards perfection? Now, brothers and sisters, perfection is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ultimate perfection in which every single one of us yearns for is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Utter happiness, yani complete happiness, in which there is no sadness, there is no worry, there is no stress, there is no thinking about what other people think of me, there is no thinking about my next meal or how I'm going to put food on the table, about what I have to do at work tomorrow. The ultimate happiness and perfection lies with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want proof of this? You want to be someone, your akhlaq, your understanding of perfection is, you want of universities, and I want to study all the subjects I can, and I want to take on 4 or 5 bachelors so that I can be an individual who is closest to my understanding of. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O my servant, I am al-alim, al-hakim." What you want is not this striving and yearning for ultimate knowledge. No, it's me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, my servant, you want me. And you say, maybe that's not my domain. I want to be someone who has status. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-mu'azz, al-jabbar. You want wealth? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-ghani. Everything we yearn for, everything we want, we think it is with these things that we continuously do, but it's with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the journey towards the ultimate perfection, is a continuous journey. It's not a journey in which I can say, oh, I'm happy with who I am. No. Because there is going to come a day when you die, and for the righteous, it's called Yawm al-Hasra, the day of regret. And for the individual who was not righteous, he is obviously going to regret as well. The one who was not righteous, he is going to regret and wish he was the one who is righteous. And the one who is righteous is going to regret and he's going to wish that he done more good actions. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So inshallah we're on the same page. So let's put the puzzle pieces together. There is something that is known as tathir al-nafs, tazkiyat al-nafs. And then there is something which is called akhlaq. And this tazkiyat al-nafs is required. It is the tool, it is the battlefield. It is the training ground so that you can build and perfect your akhlaq, making you closer towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the ultimate goal. Now, a very important question is, how do we go about this? If I come here and in all of your eyes, mashallah, he can talk. And then I go home and I implement nothing I say. Or I don't try and implement anything that I say. It is the likes of a farmer who plants a seed. In my mind, I think I'm doing something good. So what do I do? And how do I go about this journey of perfection, of purification, of improving my akhlaq towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد.
Practically, there were a few things in which we can do. Because akhlaq, it is required, like we said, at work, it is required at school, it is required with our family, with our parents. Akhlaq is required with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Me as an individual, how do I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When I come to my prayers, Allahu Akbar, till I finish and I quickly finish, I get off my prayer mat and I go back to what I'm doing. This means that what? The akhlaq of Muhammad Hussein is akhlaq, is a bad akhlaq, because he does not know how to act in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or for example, my parents tell me to do something and I'm like, you don't understand, I understand more than you. The akhlaq of this individual is someone in which who constantly does actions which form him as an individual. Now I'm going to explain what I mean. Let's take the example of ghibah. Now, me as an individual, I am someone, whenever I have the opportunity to participate in speaking or backbiting against someone, I take that opportunity to the best of my advantage. Whenever there is a situation where I can talk about someone, I talk about someone. Now I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislikes this. I know that Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt, there are thousands, if not more than thousands of ahadith telling you the effects and the consequences of ghibah, of backbiting. I sit down with myself and I say, this is your problem. Muhammad, this is your problem. Your problem is ghibah. Now how do I go about fixing this? I need to make a plan in which, with repetition and practice, my akhlaq comes from someone who participates in backbiting in every situation that they get, to an individual who does not need to think about understanding that he should not implement or not practice ghibah at all. And this can be practiced with every single thing in life, because every single person here, I know myself, you know yourself. Your situation or your issue, which could be blocking you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may not be ghibah. You may say to me, I do not backbite. very good to you. But maybe your issue is music. Your issue is the wrong friends. Your issue is you're not proud of who you are as a person, in the sense of a Muslim. When I go to school, or when I go to work, or when I go to university, I'm a very shy person because I don't want them to think about who I am as a person. Every single person knows their weak points. Every single person knows what is distancing them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a very heavy hadith from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam in which they say, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يَحَاسِبْ نَفْسَهُ فِي كُلِّ يَوْمٍ. He who does not take himself to account of his actions every single day is not from us. Now I'll tell you something. I don't take myself to account my actions every single day. What does this mean for me? So I wake up from morning till night. I lived my life. Night time came, I went to sleep. I didn't look back at my day and I didn't say, oh my God, when I spoke to my mum or when I spoke to my dad, I spoke to them in a disrespectful way. When I spoke to my wife, or the opposite, when I spoke to my husband, for the women, I spoke in a very harsh way. Or when I was at school, I have foul language. In front of my parents, I don't swear. I don't look back at my day. I don't say, for example, in this transaction, I cheated. I don't look back at my day and I say, I listened to music at so-and-so part of my day. And I go to sleep. Now, how are you supposed to improve? How am I supposed to improve? لَيْسَ مِنَّا. You are not from us. Can you imagine? Yawm al-Qiyamah. You die. And Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam comes. And he says, you are not from us. And you say, Abu Abdullah, Muharram, 10 nights, years, I cried for you. He said, we gave you our teachings, but you didn't implement it. This is a very heavy and scary hadith. There's another hadith in which the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salam, they say, حاسبوا أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسبوا. Take account your actions before you are taking account of your actions. And there's a saying, غصبا عنك, where it's not your choice anymore. So look at your points of weakness and make a game plan for you to stop this. And the only way to stop something which is a bad habit and to make it into a good habit and to make this a part of your akhlaq, so that you can say, inshallah, so that I can say Muhammad is someone who prays on time. Muhammad is someone who does not. Muhammad is someone who reads the Quran. Muhammad is someone who practices every single hadith that he listens to or he hears. Muhammad is someone who, in every situation, he tries to implement the teachings of Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. The only way to do this is through training and repetition. The same way you go to the gym and you train back and buys and you train chest and tries, you need to train yourself so that you're not someone who sins, so that you're who has a good akhlaq, so that you're someone who is representing Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, so that you're someone who is what? Who is hastening the reappearance of Sahib al-Asri wa zaman. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So inshallah, the first thing that we can all do, inshallah, for some of us it may be the first time. For others it may not be the first time, it may be on and off. But inshallah, let's try and do it constantly. myself before anyone else. Let's try and take ourselves to account of our actions throughout the day. And then I will come to understand my shortcomings. Let's say, for example, my shortcomings are anger, ghiba, and lying. So I look back at my day and I say, I have these 3 problems. Do I want to go to my grave like this? Of course not. So I say, okay, every time I am faced with a situation where I can do ghiba, every single time I am faced with a situation where I can lie, every single time I am faced with a situation where I can get angry, I'm going to remember the teachings of Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt. If I succeed, at the end of the day when I am taking myself to account of my actions throughout the day, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, thank me and I will give you an increase. And if I fail, I am someone who has been listening to music, I listen to whatever it is, whatever singer or artist it is, for years. So I come to myself and I've heard this talk and I'm like, all right, I'm going to stop listening to music. I wake up in the morning and I'm on my way to work and I turn on the music. And I'm like, oh no. Here the shaitan will say, tazkiyat al-nafs. Who are you? Say, no, every time I fall down, get back up. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ghafoor Rahim. So first one is, take yourself to account for your actions, inshallah, every single night, because we don't want to be among those who the Ahlul Bayt say, Laysa minna. The second one is, بَلِ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرًا. Every single person knows himself the best, even if he makes excuses. Make a game plan. Let us all make a game plan. How can we purify ourselves and start this journey, this true journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that when we read the Quran, so that when we sit down in these gatherings, so that when we do any action, it's truly in nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll conclude with a short story which will show us what someone who has completely pure nafs, someone who is not ma'asum, but has earned this isma through tazkiyat al-nafs and through jihad al-nafs. There was once in which one of the battles were taking place ago. So they chose one guy and they forced him by force to go out into the battlefield. He didn't want to, he was reluctant, he didn't want to go because he knows no one can stand in front of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. So Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas took this into consideration and he saw the wada, he saw the situation. So he goes out to the battlefield. So the man says to Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam, when he gets close, he says, "Oh, Abu al-Fadl, I know you're going to finish me. Don't take it all out at once. Just allow me to do a few strikes before you strike me." So Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas turns around towards the enemies and towards his army and he says, "I can't fight this man." So everyone looks and says, "What? You can't fight this man, why?" Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas says, "I can't fight this man because if I fight him, he is too strong, he is going to defeat me and I do not want to get embarrassed." Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam smiles. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas does not care what the enemies think, what his army thinks. Doesn't care what anyone thinks but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what he only wants what is for and in nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the representation and the example of someone who, inshallah, if we strive and we work towards it and we highlight our shortcomings and work towards bettering ourselves, when we leave this world, We are from the true followers of Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. And I probably won't be with him, to be honest. But inshallah, let's try. With a loud salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
If anyone wants more delving or further explanation, by all means, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. But also, there is a book called Jami' al-Sa'adat. This book, tonight was just a small glimpse of what this book is about. But it goes in extreme depth about vices, about, for example, ghibah, about backbiting, about lying, about stealing, about blah, blah, blah. The illness and how to cure it. So I highly recommend this book. It's in both Arabic and English. Jami' al-Sa'adat. There's an English version in which is very short, and inshallah, if implemented, very beneficial. And if not, there are many scholars, watch out who you listen to these days, who inshallah can also help with this topic. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد.
Thank you, Brother Muhammad, for that amazing talk. Can we have another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad? It's really insightful to consider, like we always think about, our fiqh, our different things, but akhlaq is that one thing that we often neglect, and it's often one of the most important things. And it sounds very difficult to improve our akhlaq, and how do we get there? And you find that the people with the best akhlaq are the ones that are trying to connect the most to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you keep that in the back of your mind, that can always make that journey a lot easier than just trying to improve day by day. Instead, just thinking of how can I please Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you on that journey instead. Now we have some announcements coming up. So behind me we have two things that we're going to talk about. The first one is our workshop, Belief in the Modern World. So that's two workshops, one on a Saturday, the other one on a Sunday, on the 8th and 9th. So that's the one coming up next week. That's with Brother Ibrahim Az-Zubaydi, who is the head of religious studies at Playford College, and has been giving these talks all around Australia. And now we're blessed enough to have him here in Melbourne. So that's coming up soon, and registrations are open. So if you'd like to register, please do. The other one that we have is on the 22nd of June. It's Eid al-Adha. We're going to have a big Eid celebration. There's going to be a lot of very nice things, free food, and we want volunteers. So we don't need to register for the Eid celebration itself yet, but if you'd like to register to become a volunteer, please do let us know, and we can, or you can actually assist us in, working through that. So now we're going to have the Kahoot quiz kind of thing. I don't think it's actually a Kahoot, but it's close enough. So can we have just a loud salawat while we set that up?
Get the picture. Huh? You want to get the picture? Huh? This house is gonna happen.
Alright everyone, to join, just please go to joinmyquiz.com and then put in this game code over here, and it should let you in, and then we should get started.
Amir.
It's not Kahoot, by the way. Please go to joinmyquiz.com instead. So we're trying something different this time.